So why was Matt Rempe not in the lineup?
You're Locked on the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 1044 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That is why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Terms and conditions apply. And we are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the Rangers obviously coming up short last night against the Islanders, 4-2. The first time all season, in fact, the Rangers have fallen to the Islanders. They'll play them once more this Saturday, and I think there's going to be some fireworks for that game. And anybody who watched this game last night can probably figure out why. There was a lot of nastiness, controversy, fisticuffs, and just general intensity as both teams gear up for the playoffs. I mean, the Rangers we know are going. The Islanders we're not so sure. And obviously, again, the Rangers came up a little bit short. The slow start really kind of did them in. Bad first period for the Rangers. I thought they really picked it up after that, made a game of it, almost came back, came close to getting that equalizer a couple of times in the third period, ultimately just not quite able to do so. But anything that happened in this game and whatever the repercussions for losing this game might be for the Rangers, obviously they're still in first place in the NHL and they can still win the President's Trophy. They control their own destiny to do so. But again, whatever the repercussions are for the Rangers losing this game, all of that kind of took a backseat to everything I just mentioned. The controversy, the nastiness, the hard hitting, the general in-your-face, style of game that this was. And one of the biggest things that I think we have to talk about right off the bat here is what I thought was a very surprising decision by Peter Laviolette and the Ranger coaching staff to make Matt Rempe the healthy scratch. I mean, think about it. You've got, first of all, there's history there. We saw Rempe get into a fight 1 second into his NHL career with Matt Martin. You'd think that, maybe they'd both be back out there again. And if something needs to happen, they can drop the gloves again, have a rematch. But beyond that, I mean, you've got a division matchup here. It's a rivalry game, a game where the Ranger opponent is barely hanging on to a playoff spot. And whether it's a division rival or not, when you're playing a team like that, you have to expect a lot of intensity. You've got to expect that you're going to be up against a team that's treating every game like it's game 7 and doing everything possible to scratch and claw their way to 2 points on any given night. And certainly we saw that kind of manifest itself, watching this game between the Rangers and the Islanders. Rangers probably just didn't quite match the Islanders' desperation. I think the Rangers, when they've been playing bubble teams in recent history this season, teams that are kind of, could make the playoffs, could miss the playoffs, I think the Rangers more often than not are answering the bell and doing a nice job matching the urgency of such opponents. But I don't think they really did that in this game, or at least not in the first period. But again, the way this game unfolded was not really that surprising. Again, with the hard hitting, the extracurricular stuff, the things after the whistle, the general nastiness, a couple of cheap shots maybe. This was not surprising. You add on to that the fact that the Rangers have basically embarrassed the Islanders in the 2 games that they played them earlier this year. They got the win in the outdoor game despite being down by 2 goals and twice pulling their goalie to score twice, send it into overtime, win in the overtime, and then, the Rangers pulled away late in the second matchup, but they still beat them 5-2, a pretty convincing win in MSG last month. So you add all that together, and the Islanders are going to be out for blood, basically, and urgency and doing everything they can to get 2 points and strengthen their grip on a playoff spot. So Rempe not being active for this game, based on everything I just said, is honestly one of the most surprising lineup decisions that I've ever seen the Rangers roll out in the history of this podcast. So we've been doing this. What is this now? Our 4th season, our 5th season, I think it is. I think it's our 5th season now, which is wild to think about in and of itself. But yeah, I haven't been this surprised by a lineup decision since the Eastern Conference Final, Game 6 against Tampa, when Gerard Gallant went with Dryden Hunt over Capo Caco. But that's obviously in the past. This just happened. Rempe hasn't played much lately. He's been a healthy scratch for 5 of the last 7 games, if you include this game last night. And the thing is, if you're not going to play Rempe in this game, again, I just laid out everything that's at stake and the kind of game that was to be expected. If you're not going to put Rempe in the lineup for a game like this, where intensity, physicality, and nastiness are going to happen, I mean, it's almost a guarantee, then it's very hard to believe that Matt Rempe, after not playing in a game like that, will then be in the lineup in game one of a playoff series. And that's especially true when you consider how inexperienced Rempe is. He's only got 15 career NHL games under his belt. So if the Rangers were really looking to, or strongly considering putting Matt Rempe into a game one lineup in a playoff series, you got to think he would have played in this game last night, and he would have played in more than 2 of the last 7 games in general. And that's where things stand right now. But as I say all that, I got to say, this kind of a game, everything that went down, the way it unfolded, and how angry Peter Laviolette was after this game was over, it's as upset as we've seen him after a game all season. You got to wonder if that makes him and the rest of the Ranger coaching staff kind of reevaluate their position. Maybe they were leaning toward Matt Rempe being the odd man out for game one of a playoff series, regardless of who the opponent was going to be. And maybe now, after everything that happened in this game, they do kind of a reverse course, so to speak. And maybe Matt Rempe is in the lineup. Really, I mean, we can go through the candidates real quick here, and we'll get to all the fisticuffs in this game in just a second. But really, as far as being the odd man out for game one of a playoff series, I think the only realistic options among the Ranger forwards are Rempe, Brodzinski, maybe Roslovic. You know, we saw him as a healthy scratch in the last game. Maybe Will Cooley. He was a healthy scratch not too long ago, but I can't see that happening, and I don't think it should happen. And that's about it. I think guys like Goodrow and Vesey are safe. I think they'll both be in the lineup, and nobody else is even really worth mentioning because, you know, we know for sure that they will be in the lineup. But one thing is for sure, I don't know if Matt Rempe is going to be in the lineup for game one of a playoff series. Oh, he's going to be out there on Saturday when the Rangers and Islanders have a rematch. I can't possibly picture Peter Laviolette, again, making him a healthy scratch. He might be back out there in the next game against the Flyers. I mean, the Flyers themselves are a desperate team, and they're in complete free fall right now, but it doesn't change the fact that they're desperate for wins, desperate for points, and the fact that, you know, fisticuffs and some nastiness is to be expected when the Rangers and Flyers play each other as well. So the Rempe Maniacs, you guys might get your wish. I think there's a good chance he's out there against the Flyers, especially since the Rangers lost this game, which makes it seemingly more likely, you know, coaches change the lineup or are more willing to change the lineup after a loss than they are after a win. So you might get your wish. Rempe might be out there against the Flyers, but even if he's not, 100% he's going to be out there against the Islanders. And I think, you know, there's certainly going to be some repercussions for things that happen in this game. But I want to elaborate on that in just a second. And I also want to highlight basically everything that happened in this game that, you know, extracurriculars and the hitting and the controversial plays and the borderline dirty plays, some not even borderline, just straight up dirty plays. We're going to get to all that in just a second, bunch of other stuff as well. But first, we definitely would like to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Factor. Eat stress-free this spring with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Every fresh, never frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Also, discover more than 60 add-ons every week, like breakfast, on-the-go lunch, snacks, and beverages to help you stay fueled and feel good all day long. What are you waiting for? Get started today and fuel up for your springtime goals. Get chef-prepared meals on the table in 2 minutes with Factor's ready-to-eat meals so you can get back to doing what you love this spring. Looking for gourmet meals? Try meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, truffle butter, broccoli, and asparagus. We're celebrating Earth Day all month long. Look out for the Earth Month Eats badge on the menu for our lowest carbon footprint meals. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 and use code LockedOnNHL50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box. That's code LockedOnNHL50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box while your subscription is active. All right, we just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And for the everydayers, got one more episode for you guys this week. We're going to break down everything that happens between the Rangers and the Flyers. As I mentioned just a couple minutes ago, Flyers right now, want to say 7 straight losses. A couple of those are in overtime, but they're still losses, and they're just plummeting down the standings right now, but it's still going to be a big game for them. If they're going to have any chance of making the playoffs, they're going to need to win that one, and the Rangers need to be ready to match that intensity, match that urgency, as they've mostly done against these playoff bubble teams, just maybe not so much in the early goings of last night's game. But anyway, back to all this crazy stuff that happened between the Rangers and the Islanders. So I want to look at like every little incident, regardless of how big or how small it was, just to get an idea of how this game went and just kind of break it down, offer you guys my perspective on this. And I'd love to hear your perspective as well. Go ahead and leave it in the YouTube comment section, or go ahead and send me an email. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys on that. But we start with the first period. The first like kind of thing that happened, Panarin gains the blue line, cuts hard to the right, zips to the net, and Varlamov makes the save. But you've got Panarin being hit from behind by Dobson, and he bumps Varlamov just a little bit. And then you've got the Islanders going after Panarin when it could not have been more obvious that he was pushed from behind. And let's be real here, Artemi Panarin is not exactly somebody that's known for running the goalie. So, I mean, nothing too crazy. And same thing for this next incident. You had Cooley and Bortuzzo. They were mixing it up after a stoppage once again in front of the Islander net. So, we've got a little something cooking early in this game, but nothing out of control yet, nothing too controversial, just the kind of things that you see in any normal hockey game. Then picks up a little bit. You've got Igor Shesterkin, who was great in this game, makes an awesome point-blank save against Palmieri. Mika, during the play, had knocked Palmieri to the ice, and Palmieri was going after Mika after the play was over. Now, Mika had his arm on Palmieri's chest, but he was trying to like basically push off of him and try to go get the loose puck. And Palmieri fell backward because what happened was Mika Zibanejad's skate clipped the back of Palmieri's skate. So in a way, I guess, Islander fans are saying, oh, it's a slew foot. It's a slew foot. I don't agree with that. I mean, maybe in a literal sense it was, but I do think that the contact from Mika's skate to Palmieri's skate was completely intentional. Mika's just trying to get moving and get to where the puck is. Obviously, they were shorthanded, I believe, at this point in the game. I could be wrong about that. I'd have to double check. But he's trying to get to a loose puck, and there's nothing wrong with that. And something else I'll say here in Mika's defense is that he's never done anything, really. I don't think in his entire NHL career. I can't speak for his time with the Senators, but has he ever done anything that even borders on being illegal or dirty or anything along those lines? So for me, players, especially when they've been in the league for a long time, they get the benefit of the doubt in situations like this, or they don't get the benefit of the doubt in situations like this based on their previous track record. And as I mentioned, Mika's definitely not that guy. He's one of the last guys in the league, I think, that would do something dirty. And like I said, I don't think that the skate-on-skate contact was intentional, even in the slightest. Just my take. Again, you guys can let me know what you think. We go to the second period. Palmieri is saying something to the referee before the puck drops. Kreider was saying something to Palmieri. It didn't look too intentional, but I think Palmieri basically was still complaining about what Mika had done. Obviously, Kreider and Mika, we know they're BFFs, and Kreider's standing right next to him, and certainly he's going to say something in defense of his friend, and also something that I probably can't repeat to Palmieri as well. So again, the intensity picking up here. We also had at the end of the second period, Will Cooley, big hit right at the buzzer, or right after the buzzer on Bo Horvat. It was near the boards, near the benches, in fact. Not a dirty hit at all. Now, could Cooley have laid off a little bit here and maybe given Horvat a little bit of a break? I guess, yeah. But you know what? That hit happened right as the buzzer, the contact was already being initiated. And if this hit did happen after the horn sounded, we're talking like milliseconds. I mean, it's not like this was 5, 6, 7, 10 seconds after, the horn sounded. So he finished his check and everybody jumps in. And then you've got Pelech, and we're going to talk more about him in a minute too. This actually bothered me more than what Pelech did later in this game because, again, there's a scrum. You've got Pelech basically just attacking Fox from behind and like kind of twisting his head around and all this nonsense. And Fox turns around and basically starts giving it right back to Pelech. And, once Fox started kind of, barking back at him and kind of grabbing Pelech by the side of his helmet as well, all of a sudden Pelech got really quiet, skated away from Adam Fox. And I think what happened here, I don't know this for sure. Obviously, I'm a little Ranger bias. We got that out of the way. Let me give you my take now. So I think Pelech thought that, he had a free shot at Adam Fox. First of all, he went after him from behind. Nobody can deny that. He engaged him from behind and, again, was kind of twisting his head a little bit. I think Pelech just kind of assumed that Adam Fox was going to back down for him because Adam Fox, amazing player, obviously. Not known as being like the most physical defenseman in the league and somebody that plays a very clean game. Doesn't really, get involved in that kind of stuff very often. But Fox, man, he went right back at Pelech and he had something to say to Pelech. And all of a sudden, once Pelech saw that there was some pushback from Fox, all of a sudden, Pelech wants nothing to do with him. And they were facing each other at that point too. Pelech was no longer attacking Fox from behind when that was happening there. So good job by Fox going right back at him. I've mentioned this in the past too. There's not, for people that say that this team has no grit and has no toughness, I'll never understand that, because there is not a single player on this team for the Rangers that backs down from situations like this. Now, obviously, there's certain players that these situations tend to find them more than other players. Again, you don't expect Adam Fox to be in the middle of a scrum and, pushing and shoving and all that kinds of stuff as much as some other players, but nobody on the Rangers is afraid to do this. Nobody on the Rangers is afraid to defend themselves. And in this case, again, I think Fox kind of got the better of Pelech in this situation here. Pelech kind of skated away from him after Fox started giving it back to him. So that's everything that happened in the second period. Let's move to the second period when things really got crazy. There's another play here that, again, this play bothered me more than the one that a lot of people were talking about, which was the Pelech play with Mika Zibanejad. And like I said, we will get to that shortly. But you've got in the third period, Rangers looking for the equalizer. Jimmy Vesey is in front of the Islander net. All of a sudden, for no real reason at all, Semyon Varlamov has his stick and he jams it into the back of Jimmy Vesey's leg. Could have really hurt him. Vesey went down to the ice, and obviously there's a skirmish after that. That fourth line was awesome for the Rangers, by the way. I might as well mention that here too. Vesey, Goodrow, and Brodzinski thought they had a heck of a night just battling on every single shift. This might have been, honestly, the worst thing that happened, because everything else that happened, there's some things that border on dirty or they are dirty. This is clear-cut 100% a dirty play by Semyon Varlamov. And again, everything else that happened, you could at least say, well, the intensity of the game and guys are competing and it's a big game for both teams. This was just garbage because it was cold and calculated, just a dirty play by Varlamov. And one of those things where Varlamov's not going to face any repercussions for this. What's going to happen? Like, Vesey's going to throw down his gloves and pull Varlamov's helmet off. That's not going to happen. You never see anything like that. This is absolute garbage. And it's one of those things that I'd say, make a note of it or whatever. But again, there's only so much you could do to the goalie. So that's kind of where things stand. It's just one of those things you got to, I guess, just deal with it. But there were some other things that happened in the third period as well. We had Bortuzzo putting his hand around Trocheck's throat during a stoppage. That seemed uncalled for at best. I don't know really what Trocheck did. It was in front of the Islander net, and obviously Trocheck's a pest and everything. We know that. I don't think he did anything to deserve getting a hand around his throat here, and that's just kind of a BS move in the first place. Then you've got the Mika Zibanejad play, and this is the one that I think, this and the Trocheck hit into the boards, I think are the two that really got people talking after this game. So Mika is in the neutral zone. He signals to the bench that he's coming off for a change. He starts getting toward the bench, and all of a sudden, him and Pelech crash into each other, and Mika got hit up pretty high. Mika was down the ice. There was a play stoppage. They eventually, got him off the ice and everything. This one, to me, I don't think was a dirty play by Pelech. And there's going to be some people that certainly disagree, and I respect your opinion. Saw it from a couple of different angles. It didn't look to me like it was anything malicious. It looked to me like neither one of them ever saw each other. And we do see this from time to time when guys just crash into each other because they just don't see the other player there. We've seen teammates do that where they crash into each other in situations like this. Now, I know some people are going to say that, Pelech, he stopped at a really convenient place on the ice and he knew Mika was there and he put his elbow up and this, that, and the other thing. Any of those things are possible. I just don't know how likely they are. To me, again, watching this over and over and over again, it looked like two players that didn't see each other, crash into each other, and Mika got the worst of it. Now, did he do it on purpose? Pelech, only he knows that for sure. You'd have to ask him, and I don't know that you're going to get a straight answer. So that's my thoughts on that one. Then, of course, you get toward the end of the game, and the Rangers are still looking for that equalizer. We still got a game going on here with all this extracurriculars and the fisticuffs and everything. But Igor Shesterkin is pulled. There's some pressure by the Rangers. I was really curious to see who the extra skater would be in this spot because Mika Zibanejad was not available. He was in the locker room. And usually when the Rangers are down by a goal, they pull their goalie. You get the top power play unit plus Alexei Lafreniere out there. And I think those are the 6 players that should be out there. But again, Mika was not available. They actually had Wenberg out there, which was interesting to me. Gustafsson eventually got onto the ice as well. Brodzinski was out there. So a little bit of a rotation there as far as who the 6th man was going to be in this spot for the Rangers. I would think maybe Kakko could get an opportunity in a spot like that, but they went with their guys, and Gustafsson's a good choice too if you want to go with 2 defensemen in a situation like that. But anyway, the last, big incident in this game, puck goes behind the net. There's about 15 seconds left at this point. Trocheck's back there. Dobson with an absolutely savage hit from behind on Trocheck. Nothing called on the play. This to me should have been more than a 2-minute minor. I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's suspension worthy, but not a good hit at all here. Again, he was absolutely just drilled from behind, went face first into the boards. Nothing was called on the play. The ref was looking right at it, Kelly Sutherland. And not too long after this, just a couple seconds after this, the Islanders score the empty net goal. So it's 4-2 with 5 seconds left. And Trocheck is livid. I have never seen Vincent Trocheck like this since he's been a New York Ranger. You know, Trocheck, he plays with an edge, obviously, and he's down in the weeds and mixing it up with people on a night in, a night out basis. He likes to play some mind games with his opponents, but I always feel like he's very much in control of himself when he's doing that. You know, it always feels like he's the man with the plan out there. He knows I'm going to do this to push this guy's buttons, and I'm going to say that to go after this guy and get under this guy's skin. But it always feels like he's very much in control of his emotions out there, and you know, he's cooler than his opponents are in situations like this. Trocheck was furious. This is as mad as I've seen any Ranger player during a game all season, and he's had absolutely right to be. He got in Sutherland's face. It looked like there might have been some visor-on-visor contact. I don't know if Trocheck's going to hear from the league on that. I mean, it's late afternoon here on Wednesday as I'm recording this, so I would think if we don't have any word of that happening by now, it's probably not going to happen. I don't know how the ref missed this. Didn't call it. Would the Rangers have won the game? Probably not, but, you know, you would have had 15 seconds at least to have a 6-on-4 situation. You've at least got a shot at it. And again, nothing called. And, you know, the Islanders obviously got away with one there. Something else I want to talk about as it pertains to this. I'm going to get to this in just a second because I know there's a lot of people that want their pound of flesh and they want the Rangers to really go after the Islanders in the next game, and it's going to be fight night and this, that, and the other thing. I've got some thoughts on that as well, and we're going to get to them in just a second. First, though, I definitely would like to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Indeed. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could handpick the best stars for your business team? If you're building your talent roster, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like matching, assessments, and virtual interviews. Candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it in a search, according to U.S. Indeed data. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon, Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Okay, so I know there's a lot of Ranger fans, and honestly, you can count me among you at least a little bit, but I'm going to try to stay in control here because there were some things in this game that happened that obviously we are not happy about. A lot of people want Matt Rempe out there to face the Islanders. Like I said, I will be beyond shocked if you don't get your wish. I don't know if Rempe is 100% going to play against the Flyers, but for sure he'll be out there against the Islanders. Rangers need to be careful here. This is the second to last game of the regular season for the Ranger team that has already clinched playoffs, has already clinched home ice in the first round. Could very well have clinched maybe their division by then. You know, we'll see. Might have a couple more things to play for when they're playing the Islanders next. You can't turn this into a 3-ring circus with 6 or 7 or 8 fights. This cannot be a reenactment of that game against the Capitals from a few years ago. Again, I know a lot of Ranger fans, you want your pound of flesh and you want Pelech to have to answer for some of the things he did, Dobson as well. There are more important things right now for the New York Rangers. Rempe is going to fight somebody, okay? Rest assured, Rempe is going to get into a fight in that game. It will happen, and that hopefully will be the end of it. Hopefully Rempe wins this fight and the Rangers win the game. Bottom line, as I've been saying, Rangers have a division to win. Rangers have a conference to win. Rangers have a President's Trophy to win. Rangers have a Stanley Cup to win. Those are the things that can happen for the Rangers this season. And most importantly, more than anything else, we got to have this team healthy and ready to go come playoff time. Because if we get into a situation where everybody is fighting everybody and guys are just taking runs at each other all night, I mean, do you want somebody like, you know, Panarin to get hurt right before the playoffs, or Mika? I don't even want to say those things out loud. It's that horrifying to lose somebody important. And, you know, guys like Panarin, you know, Panarin's not going to fight, obviously, but I mean, we've seen Chris Kreider fight. He could get into a fight. Do you want to lose Chris Kreider because he gets injured in a fight? We've seen Lafreniere fight. Do you want to lose Lafreniere right before the playoffs because of a stupid fight against the Islanders? So there's other players as well. I mean, Trouba, you know, these guys can mostly take care of themselves, but you never know. You get caught with the wrong punch in the wrong spot, and you could be missing some time. And certainly, that's the last thing we need before the playoffs. So I ask everybody this, for everybody that's going crazy. And again, I'm trying to control myself here so I don't get too mad about these things, everything that happened against the Islanders. But I ask everybody this question. Take a deep breath. I'll do the same thing here. Which is more important, revenge against the Islanders or this team potentially winning its first Stanley Cup in 30 years and its second Stanley Cup in 84 years? The right answer could not be more obvious. Something will happen on Saturday. There's going to be at least one fight. Matt Rempe is going to fight somebody. It's basically guaranteed. Let's enjoy that. Hopefully he wins and we move on and we play some hockey and we get an important 2 points in the standings. And besides everything else that I just said, keep in mind, the best way to hurt the Islanders right now isn't to just like beat them in a fight. Like it's to do some damage to their playoff chances. You know, the Islanders are still a bubble playoff team. Obviously that win and those 2 points helped them last night. And they have been winning lately. That was their 5th straight win, but they're by no means guaranteed a playoff spot. You know, they're only hanging on by, I want to say like 2 points at this moment. Let me just go ahead and pull up the standings so I can tell you guys for sure here. So yeah, the Islanders, okay, so they are in 3rd place in the Metro Division with 87 points. And they can only finish either there or as the second wildcard team. The second wildcard team is currently the Washington Capitals, and that's who the Rangers would play in the first round right now. But the Caps are only 2 points behind the Islanders. The Penguins are only 3 points behind the Islanders. The Flyers, I mean, it's not looking good for them based on how it's gone lately, but they're only 4 points behind the Islanders. So yeah, they're not guaranteed to make the playoffs. And the best thing you can do if you really want to hurt this team, go out there and beat them in regulation so they don't get any points. That's the best revenge right there. It's not so much, getting into 6 or 7 fights with them in one game. One other thing I want to talk about here today. So the Ranger defensemen had a really rough start to this game, specifically Jacob Trouba. I thought in general, there was just very little resistance from that group. And here's how we know this for sure. Igor Shesterkin on this night stopped 25 of 28 shots. I thought he had a great game. His best period by far, Igor Shesterkin, was the first period. And that's the period where he gave up all 3 goals. But he was under constant fire. I believe the Islanders ended up with 18 shots on goal. Igor had to stop a penalty shot in the first minute 30 of the game and made some excellent saves. This game could have easily been 6-0 going into the first intermission or, somewhere in that ballpark. So Igor, picked up his defenseman as much as he could. I know he got beat for a couple of goals, but 2 of them were on deflections. Third one, I wouldn't really put on him either. So I'm being as fair as I can be here, but getting it back to Jacob Trouba, I just don't think he's played very well since getting back into the lineup. And I don't know if he's still playing through something. Is there some kind of an injury here that he's dealing with? I can't say for sure. He's the captain. We know he's tough as nails. Even people that, aren't the biggest Trouba fans, you got to give him that. The guy is tough as nails, and he's not going to make any excuses. But again, I just don't think he's been at his best here. And he's been back for 6 games. I've kind of held back and not certainly critiqued him too much in the first handful of games. You got to give people at least a couple games to get back into the swing of games, but it's 6 games now. There's only 3 games left before the playoffs start. He needs to play better than this. There were a couple of plays where he just didn't look good. You had Brock Nelson in the first period getting around Jacob Trouba, was going to have a great scoring chance, but Keandre Miller was there to kind of help out his defense partner a little bit. Then in the second period, the Rangers have the puck in the offensive zone. Trouba receives a pass, a pretty simple pass, I want to say from Mika Zibanejad back at the blue line. Just can't handle it. The puck just skips off of his stick, goes out of the zone into the neutral zone, and then Trouba's trying to recover it at least, and he can't even do that. I mean, he's stepping on the puck, tripping over it, and then Cizikas picks up the puck, and he's about to be off to the races, and Trouba's got to hook him down, or trip him, I suppose the call was, for a penalty. So that's not good either. And then also a situation here where Trouba, the puck is in the Rangers zone, but it's there after the Islanders had dumped it. So the Rangers are going to get the puck. It's behind the net. Igor goes back there. He sells it down for Trouba. Trouba picks up the puck, skates out the other side, makes a perfect pass to the wrong team. And it led to a really good scoring chance for the Islanders. They were not able to convert there, but just not a banner night for Trouba. And then there was one more thing in the third period that kind of stood out. This one's not that big of a deal. I mean, Trouba's not fast. We know that. But there was a potential icing on the Islanders, and it looked to me like Trouba was going to get there first, and somebody on the Islanders, a forward got past him and negated the icing. Now, again, I'm not going to go crazy about this one because Trouba's not fast. It's just as simple as that. Some players are faster than others. Still thought he could have got there and got the icing for the Rangers at a critical juncture in the game. Obviously, that did not happen, but you've got a situation now where Keandre Miller and Braden Schneider, the two of them were playing very well together before Jacob Trouba came back. So, there's people saying, oh, Trouba should be the healthy scratch. It's not going to happen. Okay, I promise you, Jacob Trouba is not going to be a healthy scratch for the Rangers. I said this in a recent episode. I cannot even imagine how bad he would have to play and for how long before that even became something that became an option for the Rainier coaching staff. So let's let go of that. That's not going to happen. But would you at least consider moving Trouba down to play with either Gustafsson or Jones, whichever one of them is in the lineup? I would say yes, because he hasn't played as well as a lot of the other Ranger defensemen. It's really just that simple. You combine that with the fact that Miller and Schneider were both playing some of their best hockey of the season when they were together. I mean, how do you not make this move? I know he's the captain. I know he's well respected. I know he holds guys accountable. And I know he's very accustomed to playing in the top four. I get all that. This move has to be made if it keeps going like this. And I say if it keeps going, yet there's only 3 games left. Like, if it's going to change, it has to change almost immediately. So to me, I think that has to be at least an option. Now, at the end of this game, we actually did see Adam Fox and Keandre Miller out there for a shift together, looking for the equalizer. They were then followed by Trouba and Gustafsson, so maybe that is an option. To me, that seemed more like situational hockey in this game rather than a permanent change. But would I be opposed to Jacob Trouba playing on the third pairing along with Gustafsson or Jones? No, I wouldn't. And he'll still get out there. He'll still get his chances. He'll still obviously kill penalties. They go to him pretty quickly for every penalty kill. So it's not like you're going to banish Trouba to the bench and he's only going to play, 10 minutes a night. He's still going to get his opportunities. And I think right now you just have to go with the guys that are playing best because the playoffs are right upon us. We're going to be watching Ranger playoff hockey very, very soon here. And obviously looking forward to that. Now, to be fair, again, the Ranger defensemen as a whole, as a group, I thought got off to a really rough start in this game. There were a lot of chances where the Islanders were just zipping in on the rush, basically uncontested, and guys were getting to the net very, very easily. There was an atrocious play by Erik Gustafsson. It was basically 2 bad plays on one shift, and it led to an Islander goal, made the score 2-0. But basically, you've got a turnover by Gustafsson in the neutral zone. He received a pass and just couldn't handle it off his stick. Islanders pick it up. They go into the Ranger zone, and a short time later, the puck goes around behind the Ranger net. And again, it just kind of hops over Gustafsson's stick, goes into the corner. Islanders pass out of the corner, and you get a shot from the blue line. It's deflected twice, and they score. And, I don't want to throw just one player under the bus, but a rough shift there from Erik Gustafsson, and it led to an Islander goal. And when you consider how well Zach Jones has played recently, I mean, again, I don't think that Gustafsson has had a bad season. I really don't. But Zach Jones has been awesome lately. And to see him having to watch, these games from the booth now, while other players are struggling, other defensemen are struggling, that's a tough pill to swallow. I mean, for us as fans, I think most of us were really liking what Zach Jones was bringing to the table, but certainly for Zach Jones himself. And we'll see. We'll see if Zach Jones gets back in the lineup in any of these last few games here. Is he still in the running to be out there for game 1 of the playoffs? I'd like to at least think so, that, he's at least being considered. I think at the very least, he's earned that. But we'll see how everything plays out. Very curious to see who's in the lineup and who's out of the lineup for these last handful of games here. And of course, who ends up out there in game 1 of the playoffs. But I figure we can call it there. If you guys would like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, @LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that is @LO_NY_Rangers. And definitely subscribe to Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.